Thank you, Chairwoman Fox and Ranking Member McGovern. And I just have to say, thank you, Congressman Min and so many others around this table for the incredible thought leadership they have in all of these amendments and stepping forward to really make and fight for Americans across this country. Before I speak to the substance of my bills, I do have to again address and reiterate what many of my colleagues have said about the dangerous and immoral impact of the reconciliation package. To me and many of my constituents, it's just an abomination that this bill will make life worse and less affordable for working families, not only in the 6th District of Maryland, where I represent, but across the country. And again, it seems like it falls on deaf ears, but this bill will hurt Americans, and every district in America will feel its impact. Yesterday someone said, make America great. No, I think this is going to make America break. And I really think it is heartbreaking to see what's going to happen. Under this bill, more than 3 million people will lose access to food assistance, including over 2 million children. And again, this has fallen on deaf ears, and more than 17 million will be stripped, of course, of their health coverage for the next decade. And in the 6th District, many rural hospitals are really very fearful of closing. That 17 million people are denied life-saving care because of not what they've done or where they live or how little they earn, but it'll be because of what we do tomorrow in our votes. And to make matters worse, this bill represents a breathtaking act of fiscal hypocrisy. For decades, my Republican colleagues have raised the alarm of an increasing national debt and federal deficit, but they have tucked into this bill a $5 trillion debt ceiling hike with no offset, no pay for, and no common sense. This is not governing. It's a betrayal of public trust and a breach of our fiduciary duties to our constituents and to America. And don't just take my word for it. Let's listen to some of the Republican colleagues. Senator Tillis said that this would force states to consider eliminating Medicare coverage and cutting services for our most vulnerable. Senator Murkowski said we need more process and a better outcome for the American people. So I have several amendments which I'm going to briefly go through. My first amendment is simple, and it blocks any charges to nutrition policy under this bill unless there is a certification that no household with children under 18 will see their SNAP benefits cut. I shouldn't have to introduce this, but we are, because under this bill, over 2 million children will lose food assistance, and in my district, 1 in 9 households depend on SNAP, half of them with children. This isn't just about hunger. It's about dignity. It's about not going to school hungry and a right to live without worrying about where your next meal is from. The second, number 86, blocks the reckless cost sharing of SNAP from the federal government to states. It requires the Food and Nutrition Service, the Economic Research Service, and every SNAP agency in each state to certify that the change won't reduce benefits, shrink eligibility, or force states to cut their vital services. In Maryland alone, the state would have to absorb $75 million per year because that money would be pulled from other critical programs for low-income families. And some of my colleagues have spoken to this, but really there is a layering and a tsunami of cuts that's coming for rural America. Medicare, Medicaid, cuts and potentially to Social Security as we look at our veteran services, but then with SNAP, and our states cannot handle it. And last, I'm going to say my amendment 993, I'm calling it the fiscal sanity circuit breaker. And that's what we need. It would block the bill from taking effect unless the Comptroller General certifies it will not increase the federal deficit by more than 2.5% per year. And it will look at economic impacts, including employment, investment, and GDP growth. If my colleagues truly believe in this bill, my amendments should not be a problem. And if they oppose them, then we should be honest about the harm that they are voting to inflict. To the parent wondering how they'll feed their child, to the state official staring at a financial cliff, and to the taxpayer tired of being misled by empty slogans and worried about our country's fiscal trajectory. That's who I'm fighting for. So I urge my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to support these amendments. Let's show the American people that this chamber can still act with decency, with honor, with honesty, and with courage.